way!
Too late, fool! You will not escape! Us? What in the name of... Gary?
I'm sorry, okay? I hadn't prepped this part of the dungeon yet. I haven't had the time.
But you don't suffer from this, do you? For more than 2 years, you've helped us to enhance our tools, grow our map libraries, and given us a warm welcome in the community of map makers and game masters. We are honored to be part of this community, and all we can say is thank you.
Bring it on.
Hello and welcome everyone. Today's Thursday, so it's another evening for me or day for you of welcome to the Mapness. My name is Till and I am the founder or one of the founders of DungeonFog, and usually I use my Thursdays to prep for the games that I run on Fridays. But upon special request from last week, we are today looking at the campaign manager and how to prep a map to run it through the DungeonFog campaign system. So as always, if you have any questions and you want me to answer them, if you need me to show you something in DungeonFog, or if I was too fast and you want me to repeat it, then just type in the chat. If you put something like a big question in front of it, it will be much easier for me to catch it. Right, that's it. So hello everyone. Hi, I'm glad that you joined us for tonight. And let me just quickly prep my stuff and then we will dive right into it. Okay, so I need to do that. And I'm in front of the chat, that's fine, it's going to shift soon. Actually, no, that's not a new camera, it's just somehow I managed to get OBS to be a little bit wonky and choppy with the camera. I haven't figured out why yet. So we will see, it might get fixed soon, it might take a little bit longer. For some reason, it's a little bit shifty. I don't know why. Okay. And yes, it's Thursday yet. All right. So, I reworked my screen layout a little bit for tonight because if we're looking at the campaigns tool of DungeonFog, we need more than just one screen to share. And so here we are now. Right. So, I think it was the last mapping it out stream when someone in the chat asked me if I could show you how I prep my maps in the campaign manager, and then how do I work with the GM tools in DungeonFog to run a game. And I'm happy to show that. It's super easy. There are also some nice tutorials that we did together with Guy Sklenders from How to Be a Great GM on YouTube. So if you missed something today, if you feel like that was too fast, check out the tutorial videos. And just as a side note, I think I've said that quite often, but I just want to remind you, DungeonFog is a map making tool and not a VTT per se, because if you think of a VTT like a virtual tabletop, then you're expecting things like dice rollers or integrated character sheets, chat systems, things like that. The way we intended DungeonFog is we said, okay, we have a quite powerful map making tool, and the way that we're dealing with the map making allows us to, or allows you to do live editing on maps. Now, again, if you're really looking for a VTT, I would highly recommend using Foundry, because we're integrating with Foundry. The way that we're handing maps to Foundry is quite powerful. And Foundry offers all the fancy stuff. Like there are a ton of amazing modules that you can use. And there is a universal VTT importer that allows you to import maps from DungeonFog into your Foundry scenes. And the lighting is set, the dynamic walls are set. So we're working on new stuff now to improve the import. So there's a lot you can do if you're really looking for virtual tabletop. If you're like me and you're running games, or you used to run games in a personal space with friends on a table, and you just want the map to be projected or shown on the TV, and you don't really care about digital dice rolling, and your friends bring the character sheets to the table, so you really want just a map viewer with Fog of War, then DungeonFog is perfect for that. We have started to work, because of the pandemic and the way that people are not playing on the table as much as they used to. We have, over the past couple of months, we have implemented more features, so that players can move their own tokens, and that you have tokens on the map, and that you have sight and things like that. But again, it's not our core intent, at least for now, to transform DungeonFog into a full-fledged VTT, because there are amazing systems out there, and we don't really want to reinvent the wheel and take that load on our shoulders as well. So let's look at what the campaign manager can do. Let's look at all the things that are available there, and then you can decide if you want to use that for your games, or if you prefer a classic VTT, like, for example, FoundryVTT. That's perfectly fine, Blue Sky, because Foundry is, as I just said, amazing. And I just recently, because of the Universal VTT importer that Mooman wrote so that DungeonFog maps can be imported, I started using it too. I wanted to test it, I wanted to see the capabilities, and I instantly fell in love with it. It's a bit of a honey trap, because there are so many amazing plugins that you can install that I have my own time system there set up. I have the weather system and the effect system set up. I've connected it to Beyond D&D Beyond, so that my players have their character sheets directly synced with D&D Beyond. They're absolutely fantastic things there. And I feel like, as long as we're still in lockdown here in Austria and we can only play online, I will most likely stick with Foundry. The second we're allowed to play back at the table, I will most likely switch back to DungeonFog, because it's, again, one of the most powerful features is that you can live draw on the map while your players are exploring it. Okay, long story short, let's start and look at it, how it works. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a campaign, and there are basically two ways to do that. The way number one is when you go into your navigation, into your main menu, you will find a menu icon that's called My Campaigns. And when you click on that, you will be brought there, and you will see all the campaigns that you have already created. Now, if you haven't created anything, this is going to be empty for you. But that is quick to fix, because you click on New Campaign and you create a new campaign. What is a campaign? A campaign is basically just a collection of maps. So it is kind of a folder or container that you create, where you then add maps to that. And I will talk about that in a minute, but let's just create a campaign here, and I will call this the Lava Temple. That is going to be my one shot that I'm going to run. No, I'm not. I'm just doing that here. But that would be a campaign. So now that I've created a campaign, I can add maps. I can do this through the web interface directly from what we call the platform, like from here. So I can click on Add Maps to this campaign, and it will open me a browser where I can add all the maps that I have in my account. The other way to do it is I can just open the campaign, and we will do that for now. which means when you click on Open Campaign, it goes into the internal campaign manager that is part of the editor itself. So this is the interface. This is what you see when you go in there. You have the title here, the lava temple. You have no campaign maps because you haven't added anything yet. Here's the list of all your maps. And here you can set a campaign image. Let's quickly do that. Let's set, where are my campaigns? There they are. Let's just pick the jungle here. Open. Okay, so now my campaign, that's basically just for you. Now it has a nice little background image. So before we start creating characters, let's pick a map. And I think I'm going to use one of my maps from here, which was in the jungle. And it's going to be let's add the Shilko Temple. There you go. The create map button, this one here, yes, this is one of our known issues, is broken and is being fixed. So creating a map directly from here is currently not working, but it's also kind of not really recommended. The thing is, the second I've added the Shilko Temple, which is the map that I want to run in this campaign, the second I've added it here, our system automatically created a copy, which we are calling the campaign version of that map. And the thought process behind that is, picture a map that you have spent hours to create, and you open that map, and your players go in there, and they are like, we don't like doors, we blast through all the walls. That's fine, they can do that, and you as a GM, with all the tools available, you can make that work. You can go and blast the walls away and reflect whatever your players are doing, reflect that on the map. The downside is, once they're done with that map, you probably want to have the original version, not the destroyed version after your players ravaged through the map. So we said, okay, the original version of the map stays in your My Map section, but when you add it to your campaign, we create a copy, a campaign copy, and if your players break that map, or if you want to specifically for this one campaign want to change something on the map, that's perfectly fine, because we're not touching the original map. So although we know that some people start to create maps inside the campaign, and you can now convert them back to original maps, I personally would recommend that you start mapping in the regular editor of your My Map section, create your maps there, and then only add them once they are done, because that makes your life much easier, and doesn't create the confusion of where's the map, what status does it have, because you've created it first in your My Map section, and then you've copied it over into your campaigns. So we can now also, what we can do here is we could type some campaign notes here, and we could say this is a forgotten temple at the foot of a volcano. I'm not sure, is it a volcano or volcano? I have no idea. In German it would be the volcano. That looks wrong. Volcano. Okay. The journal is basically like your GM notes while you run the game, and if you had previously already created journal entries for this campaign, you could see them here. Joel, thank you. Sorry, I've missed it. I was talking too much and not looking at the chat. So is this an update? No, it's not an update. Today it's map making Thursday, and we are just looking at the tools. Usually I'm creating maps. because someone requested it last week on the stream and wanted to see how the campaign manager and the GM tools work. Today I decided to do to not really draw a map, but use a map that I have created and prep it as if I would be running the game. Oh, hi Guy. Nice to see you. It's Map Thursday and we're doing campaigns. So sit tight, have fun, enjoy. Where was I? Right. That basically would be it. We could start with that right away. But if you have regular plays, like if you know your players are going to be part of the campaign, you can create the players right away. Because that will help you if you switch maps, if you need to place tokens. The players you create here, they will stay available throughout the whole campaign as preset tokens for you. So if I go in here and I say, okay, this is John. John Jenkins, the brother of Leroy. He's a paladin. Seems to be part of the family. Okay, I have party. No. Well, let's use one of my preset collections here. Let's take Ricard from one of my games. That's a nice paladin. And let's pick. You know what? Let's pick my group. Andy will be very pleased to see that he's part of the game now, and I need to name them. So this is Kalim. This is Ricard. And let's pick. Oh, sorry, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to wait. You should be Ricard. Where are you? There. Okay, and I want to add a dwarf. No party should be without dwarf. Okay. That's it. That's fine. I have a 3-player party and I'm set. So this is basically what you do to prep your campaign. That's all you need to do. You name the campaign. You add the maps you want to play on. If you would like to. If you would like to add more than just one map, let's say we want to have at least one jungle encounter map and the jungle gap, you can add them, which means that while you're running the game, those maps are available through the quick navigation. We will see that in a minute. We're done, we're set. So all we need to do now is we need to decide what map do we want to run. And that we can do through the open button. To just quickly explain what this does, well, the bucket is, I think, quite obvious. It will delete the campaign version of that map. Your original version stays untouched. That reverts it, reverts it to the original map state. So if you want to revert the changes that your players did to the map or that you did to the map, this one would revert your map to its original state. And that one means open the map, let's run it. So if I click on that one, it will load up the map. And here's a quick reminder, because that map I have created probably 1.5 years ago, so it was still in the old version. The system now asks me to update because of all the features that we've implemented for the campaign manager. It needs to be on the map needs to be a version 5 map. So I want to keep the brushes, so I say convert brushes, and I get a preview of how it looks, and I feel it looks quite nice and fine, so I can say save and continue. And you will notice that your interface has changed now. There are several things here that might jump to your attention. The first thing is you have this little yellow lash up here that says the Lava Temple. The Lava Temple is the name of the campaign you're running, and the Shilku Temple is the name of the map that you're currently on. So that is for you as a game master, a quick reminder, in case you has sudden blackout, and you don't know what campaign you're currently running or what map you're currently on, there you will find the information. And then you can see that here you have this yellow toolbar that you usually don't have when you're in DungeonFog, because that is the Game Master's toolbar. So here you have a lot of things that are specifically for you as a Game Master. The first one brings you back to your campaign. This one allows you to toggle the fog of war based on rooms, whereas this one allows you to draw, like a brush, the fog of war, like reveal or hide. You can ping. Here you can, for example, here you can quick access the maps that are part of the campaign in case you want to switch a map. Hans asks, do the players see the yellow label? No, they don't. Only you do. We will see what the players see in a second once I open the first player version. Here is your journal. No, I think this is, wait, which one is it? Oh, I forgot. I can't remember. Those are GM notes, right? So if I have written GM notes to my map, they will be displayed here, like here from the GM notes section. And this is the journal. This is where I kind of do a protocol of what my players are doing so that I can remember next time. And this is the important button. This is the button that invites players. So when you click on that one, you're asked if you want to open a local version or if you want to send a link to your players. The only difference is if you run a local version. So again, if you're, for example, if you're playing at home on the table and you're using a TV or a projector, you can use the local player window because that runs on your machine. It's technically just a different browser window that opens on your machine, which means that with all the internet connections and stability and the game socket and all that stuff, you kind of ignore all of those kind of, how would we call them, obstacles that might interfere with your game, because you're running it locally on your PC and you don't need an internet connection for that. Unless you still need to load assets, but the amount of internet connection needed is a lot less. Whereas if you copy that link, you can send that to your players. And we've just recently fixed a problem where your players weren't able to see the map if they didn't have a DungeonFog account. That was just a mistake in our code. So they don't need to have a DungeonFog account. They just need to follow the link, and they will see. At the moment, they would see a black window. So because of streaming and because of the internet connection and stuff like that, I will use the local player because I feel like that is, with my setup, a little bit more stable. So when you click on open the player tab, this is what they see. Not very sexy, that's fine, because you haven't revealed anything to them yet. And now for today's new layout, let me take that and shift that over to here. So the upper screen here is that's a separate tab that you can see what the players are seeing at the moment. While you as a GM, you now suddenly get this little frame here, and if I scale to fit here, you will see that this frame is actually calculated out of the player viewer's window. So the smaller the window, let me just quickly demonstrate that. So if that window is smaller, if the player is watching on an iPhone, then you get a reflection of that, and you see the area that the player view is showing to the player. Let me bring that back up and let me make that full screen. So now we're back at full screen. The reason why it's black is obvious, because A, we don't have any tokens here, and B, we haven't uncovered anything. So we can do that now. I can use the room-based fog of war which takes either the stage or specific rooms identified as rooms that you've created in DungeonFog to uncover stuff. So if I would click on the stage here, you would see, if you look up to the window, let me shift the frame a little bit, you would see that the water must have been a separate room because it's still hidden, whereas the land is one room itself and has been uncovered. So to fix that, I would just uncover the water as well, and now the player would see everything. I can turn this around and I could say, oh, you're coming from the water, and so for some reason you do not see anything on the land. Or I could hide all of that and I could use my brush, and with the brush I can easily draw what they are seeing. So I can let's make that a little bit bigger, and I can say, okay, this area you can see, and you can see at least to here on the land, and by drawing that it auto reveals that stuff. I can also cover stuff, so I could go in there and say, okay, with the with my Fog of War brush, I can just draw, add or subtract from the Fog of War. Now for you as a GM, you can control the Fog of War intensity, which has nothing to do with the players, but with what you see on your GM screen. You can control that here at the slider at the bottom. So if it's too light, you can't really tell whether or not you've uncovered a specific area. But when it's too dark, you should really know your map. I usually stick somewhere in the upper third, upper 2/3 of the slider, because that kind of gives me a good hint of what is uncovered and what is not. Okay. But now we want to introduce tokens to that, and we want to give the players some agency so that you as a GM don't have to control everything, but you can give some of the control to the players. And for that we have in the regular toolbar, because tokens, you could place tokens on a regular map and they will then be available in the campaign version as well. We haven't done that here, so we're going to do that now. What I want to do is, as you can see, I have my players already available here because I've created them back in the campaign. So I can take Ricard now and I can say, okay, Ricard has just landed here, as well as Kalim, as well as Limbur. So they're here now. They already have there. Let me zoom in a little bit because it's really hard to see at the moment. So I have the tokens there, but the tokens are not connected to any line of sight. They don't have any of those values. So what I can then do is I can select the token and I can say, okay, this token has sight. Oh, excuse me, getting a dry throat here. And we will do that now. So Kalim gets sight, and we can define how far he can see in squares. So I would say he can see 6 squares. The second I do that, it updates. It updates the Fog of War. It updates the sight on the token. It also updates the player map. Because again, the important part is that in DungeonFog, at least for now, sight is not really defined per player, but sight is defined as visible on the player view. So it's for Limbur, he sees the same thing that Kalim sees, and so does Ricard. Again, the history of that is basically because we were designing the tool for people playing at the table or at the same room, which kind of is the same as a regular mini would do. If you play with minis on a map, everyone sees what everyone else sees. So let's still do the same thing, because Kalim might die, and then we need to have sight on Ricard. And let's do the same thing here. So they all have sight now, and as you can see, because they have sight, the sight circles start to extend a little bit. If you have players, if you're playing online, and if you have players that that you connect, you can now you can now control a few things, which means that here in the Viewers tab, I can say, okay, this viewport should be assigned to a specific player. More players coming in would mean more viewports here in the list. There would be added more tabs here, and more tabs means that I can click on each of those tabs and then assign things. So I would say the green one is assigned to Ricard, and I can go and say, okay, assign this token, and on the map are those tokens. So there are, I could just introduce a new token here, but since those tokens are already on the map, I could say, well, use that one. And what happens now is it auto centers on that token. So if the token moves, if the token moves, you will see that the viewport, at least for you, auto shifts in the same place. There you go. For some reason it doesn't like my texture at the moment. It became a snow map. Okay. The next thing I can do is I can go in and where is my, there it is. I can say, well, I can rotate the screen, which I don't want to do right now, but I can say who can move that token. And for a local viewer, it's basically it's defaulted to all tokens, because it means that everyone can move the tokens. Yes, I can move the props live, and if I would say that we're going to do that in a second. I could say no one can move the token, which means only the GM can move it. I can say only this player can only move the assigned token, so his own token. So a player could move his own token around. Or I could say everyone can move all tokens. So let's stick with that for now. But if you can see my mouse, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. It's very tiny. Let me probably zoom in there a little bit. So now you should see it better. I'm not sure if you do. But I can select Ricard, and I can move Ricard on the player view. And I can move him around. I could also move him with the cursors. So I could say with the arrow keys, I could say go here, go here, go here, go here. And as you can see, while you're looking on the GM screen, for the GM screen everything stays solid, so it's not moving. But for the player, it always follows the token. And if you have more than just one player, it would automatically start, so they would start to spread and everyone could explore. Right, there is another thing, and that is players might want to know how far they can move and to see the distance, like for measurement, for example. They would like to measure the distance they could move or shoot or jump or whatsoever. And we can make it work to reflect that. The important part is I can open multiple local. Well, that's actually really true. I could do that. Let's open a new one. This is going to be a little screen nightmare now. But let's assume that this one is now, so here you can see it's a blue one. Oh, Hello, World Anvil. The Forge is raiding us. So let's assign this token to Kaleem. Okay. So now we can see that Kaleem has a different viewport, and for Kaleem we will also zoom in a little bit so that it is easier. It hates my textures for some reason, I don't know why. But we will live with that. Yeah, it hates my texture. Let me see if I can. It's which one? It's the It's a volcanic stone. Let's just switch it to that one and see if it updates. No, it doesn't. Well, it's a snow map for tonight. So now you can see that, let me get rid of that because we're done here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now we can see that Kaleem has its own viewport assigned, and if we scroll up here, Ricard has its own viewport as well. So Kaleem would be moving probably somewhere here. And we can see that reflected here on the map, while Ricard is exploring, sorry, I need to go through the selection mode, while Ricard is exploring this place. And again, how do I do that? I think like this. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so here you can see at least a little bit the two different windows, but it's let's stick with Kaleem for now. If you want to add distance measurement, hi World Anvil, hi Janet. Well, this is one of the maps that I did for one of my campaigns, and we're going to see that it is a volcano temple. Right, I wanted to show you how you can measure distance. So the thing is, this is not active by default, and this is a map setting that you want to activate. So if you select the stage, the general stage, so if you escape yourself out until you are on the stage settings of the map, you will see that there is a field that's called distance metric, and it is by default disabled. But I can activate that, and we have several different calculation models for that. If you're playing a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition version, you would want to go for the 1-to-1 distance metric. And if you activate that, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. If you activate that, you now have the option to also activate real world units, which means that you can say, okay, 1 square equals 5 feet, for example. And if Kaleem now starts to move, you have the distance metrics that tell you that he's now moved 20 feet. And there you go. I'm pretty sure that the player is seeing the same thing if he does it on his player screen. So if you look up here on the player viewport, the small one, you would see that Kaleem has the same options here, and you can move them as well. That's all you need to do to set up a map for your players, and set up the tokens for your players and invite your players to the map. But if you want to introduce monsters as well, you can easily do that by going to your tokens and just create a new one. If you want to create a new one, you use the upper token area, where you say, okay, I want to have a monster token from DungeonFog, fantasy tokens. Let's go for a skeleton. We have a skeleton. I think I could just Google it. Google, search for it. There you go. The green one is a nice one. Let's use that one, and we can adjust the border. So there are several things that we can do with borders. We could pick a specific border. I'm happy with the default. What I want to do is I just want to colorize the border so that I know that this is, for example, an enemy. Let's make this even darker. No, wait, I wanted to. That's what I wanted to do. There you go. You're not liking my color today, aren't you? Oh, because it doesn't really help myself. Okay, so let's pick a darker one then. Don't touch. There you go. Nice. And now all I need to do is I go in here and I place the tokens wherever I like them. So they are hiding here behind. And they're ambushing my players the second they arrive here. For tokens, you can do several things. You can say that, well, if you say they have sight as well, be careful, because as I said before, sight means that it is visible to your players as well, because our sight system still needs some improvement to differ between enemies and friends. Oh, the dog is knocking. Give me a second. I need to let the dog in. And I'm back. Perfect. Right. Yeah, but I can make my tokens concealed, which means they are not visible to my players. And once I unconceal them, they will start to be to appear here. So let's conceal them for a second. They're hiding. Well, I'm glad, Joel. Joel says this does way more than I thought it did, and you're answering all the questions that were swirling around my brain. That's what I'm here for. So let's conceal them. And Kaleem, the poor, nothing expecting, exploring Kaleem goes here. And as you can see on the player's map, even though he is right next to a token, he's not seeing it because we've concealed it. So now it jumps into action and says, "Hi, I'm here, and I'm going to attack you." And we roll initiative. Okay, so as I said before, because DungeonFog is not a virtual tabletop with dice rolling and character sheets and stats and all that stuff in there, this is up to you as a game master to control that. What we do have is we have a little note system that you can utilize to keep track of what your monsters are doing or their hit points or whatsoever. I would really like to show that, but unfortunately, Finn the Dungeon Dog, every time I touch my mouse, is pushing back my hand. Give me a second. Come on. Here. Come up. There you go. Okay. Perfect. My Dungeon Dog is a high-level encounter. He, by the way, is coming back. He's coming for round 2. Okay. He needs a little bit petting. I will be back in a second. Say hi. Hello. Yes. Okay. Are you going to join me like that? We will do our best. Right, the note system. So when you open your little notes tab at the bottom, you can type. You've selected the token, and you can insert a description here. I could say, for example, this has 15 hit points. The good thing about that is when you mouse over your tokens and they have nodes, you will see a little overlay that shows them to you. Now we did that as an experiment and we found that really useful. So we're going to expand that feature over the course of the next campaign updates, so that you can add those little mouse over tooltips to rooms or prop groups or things that you just want to have on the mouse over instead of on your GM notes section. Yeah, I think you've can it be that you've sided up with Finn, or are you reading the chat? Because he's really asking for attention at the moment. Yes, it is. This is a really cool feature, and I think we can make much more out of that than we currently do. But for now, it is token only. But it could be like it's all tokens. So I could say that poor Kaleem, is now being cursed. Exactly. So I remember in 2000, probably 17, maybe 18, we were at the RPC in Cologne, and one of our first like long-time users, long-time backers, Exterminator, he was talking to us, and he already back then he said this would be amazing, and I was like, yeah, I would love to do that, but there's so many things that we need to tackle first, and now we're slowly getting there. So take this as affirmation that whatever you throw at us, we will definitely not forget. It's just a small team needs time to work off the list, but it's going to be there soon. So I think that's basically it. Now for the next part, because usually you don't play just on one map, especially when you have a multi-level map. Your players probably want to descend, like in our case. Sorry. They want to descend into the temple that is below the volcano. So if your players are finding the entrance, so let's see, Kaleem or Ricard is currently going to the entrance, and he's like, hey guys, I found the entrance. And Kaleem's like, yeah, sure, let me quickly deal with the skeleton here. And he is killing the skeleton, which you could do either by then deleting it, which I usually don't do. I'm just concealing it, and I'm setting it to 0 hit points. Oops, I didn't want to do that. So now Kaleem has disposed all the skeletons, and he's now like, I'm coming. As you can see, he can move through all the props, because that is something that we allow. You cannot move through walls. You're blocked by the walls. This is impossible to do. As a player, as a GM, you can move them wherever you like. So as long as I'm moving them around here, you will see that I can move them wherever I like. But the second we switch over to the player's view, you will see that I can only move where the walls are allowing it. And then Limbur, who has been sleeping back there, he drank a lot of dwarven ale, and he's now waking up and is saying, I'm coming! And he's moving up. And he's following along. Okay, so now they're all in front of the entrance, and you as a game master, you want to prep what's coming next. So what you can do is, you can shift on your, if you have a multi-level map, you can shift to the next level. And there are going to be a few things that are going to happen there in a minute. So the second I shift, you will see that the players are still in front, because we want, at least I usually want to have a few minutes of prep time before I bring the players in. So I go to the map and I check, is everything set as I like it? Is that what I want? And then I'm bringing the players in. And now I I can see, let me just quickly check. Yeah, map looks fine. There you go. Everything looks amazing. It's a beautiful below. Maybe it's a little bit dark. Let me just quickly ramp up the lighting. Let's go to, well, that's too much. Let's go to 42. Okay, so now I'm happy. Now I can bring in the player tokens, and I can do this either by replacing the tokens. I just go in and place the tokens again, or I can go back up to my players and I can say, okay, you are, right click on the token, you're descending. So I'm sending him down onto the second level. I'm not sending him to the entrance of the stairs. I'm using the coordinate system and I'm just sending him down. So I'm kind of taking the token information and I'm placing the token information on the lower level. That's why it's going to be paused, so I can adjust that. 42 is my number. Whenever I can, it's 42. The color code, by the way, the color code, when we picked the color code for DungeonFog, I was playing around with colors and I came up with, I don't know why, I came up with the color code FFAE42, so it's a hex code, hex color code, and I instantly loved it because if you quickly say it, it's FA42, and I was like, the perfect color for a dungeon maker tool. Sorry, getting distracted. So Limmer is following along, and Kalim is following along as well. Okay, so now I can go back into the temple. Yes? No? Maybe? Yes. Oh my, I accidentally created a new level. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go down into the temple, and as you can see, the tokens are, although I moved them down, they're not perfectly set. So now I can put Ricard here, and Limbur can move here, and Kalim is going here. Okay. There you go. I'm not yes, it's now it's updating. Okay, so now I've moved the tokens down, but for my players, nothing has changed yet. The reason is that the maps are still frozen. I still said, okay, wait. I'm not bringing you in until I'm set. Now I can do that by clicking on the shift click to unfreeze. So I can go in there and I can say unfreeze and unfreeze, and eventually it should then update the player screen here. I hope it does. Yes, it does. And so now we're currently looking through, can't remember which eyes are we currently. I think we're still looking through Kalim's eyes. Lucas says the gods of all pen and papers liked this project and gave you the code as a thanks. Yes, they did. So that is how you shift players from one map to the other. And let me just, for the sake of this, now turn this around. Okay, I think that's fine. So now I am just in the player's view. And as you can see, I have too many tabs open, so I can't see anything. Kalim has the up here, sorry, it's really tiny, but I said Kalim can move all tokens. I will now change that to only his own token, which means that if Kalim here, my mouse is now over here, so I'm playing Kalim now. if Kaleem starts to move, that's perfectly fine. He does that. If he's trying to move Limbo or Ricard, nothing is happening. So Kaleem can move only his token. And if Kaleem is trying to go through a wall, it will also not allow that. So the wall is a limitation here. So now he can move and move and move and move and oh no, traps. And he can explore that, and as you can see, the camera has been assigned to his token, so it is following along. Eventually he will come to a door, and I think, honestly I can't remember. Yes, because if the door is set as a to be really honest, I can't remember when you can. There is a state where you can pass through the door, and there is a state when you cannot. But I will have to look that up myself. Because me as a GM, I usually just drag them and say, now you're entering that room. Okay, if we move along, we can now explore the whole thing. And me as a GM, I can always go in and say, stop, that's as far as you can get, and now things are happening, and I will go in and place tokens. And that's, I think, all you need to know to run campaigns. Maybe the one last important thing that you need to know is, let me bring that back here. Once you're done, your game is over, people are happy, hopefully they're clapping and saying thank you, what an amazing game. Let's do the final boss in the next session. Don't forget to save your campaign state. Because if you save that map, all the tokens, all the placements, all the nodes, everything that happened throughout the campaign will be saved in this state, and you can pick it up next time. But it is important that you keep that in mind and that you save that. Okay, now it's question time. So if you have any questions, if you want me to show you something, feel free to do so. Ask me, I will do my best to answer them. There is a question from Varia Maple. Will there be a way for Kaleem to see only Kaleem's vision in the future? I think so, yes. We already had that discussion, and it is something that we can still improve upon. There was a vote. I think in March, in February, I can't really remember. We did sorry, it's dog time again. Come on. We did a vote, and we've asked the community what they would like to see next, and doing campaign updates was not the highest voting result. So this means that we're going to tackle this, but the community gave us other priorities. So before we're going to address that, we will be addressing other things first. I know that Andy has been writing some updates on the vision on the site. I am currently not informed on what exactly this new patch includes. I will have to check that, but we are already working on stuff in that regards. I'm just not certain if it is, especially playing with the site and the vision part or not. Ein Hund. Yes, there is. And he's kind of, where are you looking? I'm not sure. Are you looking at me? Yes. I think we should change seats. You should run the show, and I lie on the couch and snore. That would be amazing. Wouldn't it? No, it wouldn't. So how to switch between maps rather than levels? Yes, sir. If you want to switch to a different map, all you need to do is you pick the map you want to switch to. We're assuming that you've prepped your campaign to have all the maps that you need already here. In case you have not, you would, while your players probably take a quick bathroom break, you could quickly go to your campaign manager here and add another map here. But you can then just activate another map, and the same thing happens. So the second you activate the map, you now have this map here. The player states get frozen, so they're still in their version of the map, of the previous map. And you can prep, again, you can prep stuff. The only thing is you can't bring tokens over through maps, so you have to, at least, you have to go back and say, okay, this is this player, this is this player, this is this player. And once you're done and you say, okay, unfreeze, unfreeze, the players will come over, but you then have to at least reassign them. So this was Ricard, no, actually this was Kalim, and this was Ricard. So that's the only thing you need to do to prep it. I think, oh right, and because I forgot to set the token site, I believe, in the player editor. Select, there you go. Ricard has a site of 6, and Kalim has a site of 6, and Limur has a site of 6. There you go. Now you're set. Oh, Luca, absolutely. The Dungeon Dog is the mastermind behind all of this, and we bow and obey to his commands. So he's currently sending me a lot of feed me commands. And I have to obey. No, I haven't. Soon finish. Joel, yes, at the moment you need to do the permissions. I think you can set them in the campaigns. I'm not fairly certain, because we've introduced the site toggle after we introduced the player toggle, so it might not be in there. But if it's not in there yet, it's going to find its way in there. No, it is. It's already in there. So I just forgot to activate that. If you set up your players already with site permissions, you're set. And I know that Andy has already been talking about a concept where you could link the viewports to players if they are external links. So we could create that specific player link already here. But if you're playing it on a local map, you at least have to reassign which token has which viewport. Wurstzipfel. So sausages, he loves them, but he is a cheese dog. Finn is he's going crazy for cheese. If I ever bring cheese at home, he's completely turning lunatic. Johannes K. asks, can I use the map in other VTTs with all the properties like walls, doors? How about we look at that? Because you can do it in Foundry. So we have started to integrate into Foundry at the moment, because Foundry is by far the most versatile and, how do you call that, open system for integration. There are other systems out there, which I'm not going to name now, that we've tried to integrate, are really painful to do. I know the Forecaster is already working on his little integration plugin for Fantasy Grounds Unity. But right now, from our side, we are focusing on Foundry, because the way that Foundry works is just amazing. And let's do that now for a second. So, exit. Let me just clean up here a little bit, or I will get completely confused. Let's go into a regular map. Let's use the map that we've created in our last session, because I'm still so happy with the outcome. So my maps, there was one in, I believe, in my current Tomb of Annihilation games, and it's in Omu, and it is not the Fane, it's probably random buildings. Nope, that comes when you don't clean up your stuff. The Snake Pit. That was the map that we've created in our last mapping in Outstream, and to be honest, when we started it, I felt like it's going nowhere. And then this happened, and it's an amazing map. It's a terrible example for what I'm going to show you with Foundry at the moment, because at least we have some walls and some doors, but we don't have windows and transparent stuff and all that things. So I have this map, and I want to export it to Foundry. So while I'm zooming in here a little bit so that you can marvel at the beauty that the community has created with me, I am going to open Foundry. Now it's Foundry time. Let me move that over here, and let's do something that my players, if they are watching, are not completely. That's fine. Okay, so the one thing, so we have Foundry here in the upper window. I've opened Foundry, and the second that we're going to import it in Foundry, I will switch screens again so that you can see what you can do. Right now, all you need to do is you go into the export mode of your map, and when it comes to, let's name this the Snake Pit. I will need it anyways soon. If you select here, you can see that there's a universal VTT export. And once I have that, I've got several VTT options. So I could export the lights as VTT lights, which I'm going to do for now. The lighting system in Foundry is a bit different to the lighting system in DungeonFog. So there is not 100% similarity between what you set up as light in DungeonFog and what the native light in Foundry then is. But we did our best to get as close as possible to it. So if you're setting light sources in DungeonFog, we can hand them over as separate light sources as like selectable and editable light sources in Foundry. The view options are basically, do I want to show map decorations? Well, I don't have there any. Do I want to show GM informations? Again, we haven't created any GM informations for this one. Do I want to show tokens? Well, no, there are no tokens. Do I want to show the grid? So I could decide whether or not I want to show the grid or not. The reason you're still seeing grid here is because if you watch the stream from last Thursday, you will see that we have created grid manually as a brush. So there is always grid on the map, but if I would have that one activated, I would have the grid even on the outer parts of the image. So I will turn this off. And now I'm going to, is that already named? Yes, it is. I'm going to export it. There you go. Now I have created that export. And that, I think, is the perfect time to switch screens, because now we're going into Foundry. So let's bring that up here. Boop, 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 boop. I think that looks good. And while we're doing that, let me push that one up here. Okay. So what you need is a plugin. You need a plugin that allows you to import that map into Foundry. And you can find the plugin, and you will see all the modules I have installed, but that is fine. You can find that. It is named, where is it? So many things. Active modules. I'm not finding it. I'm blind. Inactive. No. Second from the bottom. Universal map import. Thank you. Yeah, I just went completely blind. There it is. The universal map battle map importer is what you're looking for. So if you don't know how to install a module, just so that you've seen it here once, if I return to setup, here are the add-on modules, and you can click on install, and then you go for universal. Well, now it should work. And there you can find it, and all you need to do is then install it. Okay, so that was where you can find how you can install your module. Now let's go back in there because we want to get a new map. Okay, so maps are called scenes in Foundry, and we can, if we have the plugin, once we have the plugin installed, you can see that at the bottom you have a little import. This button allows you to get the Universal VTT file imported and created a scene out of it. So all I need to do is I pick the map, which is this one, open, and I'm clicking on import. If you want to know about the advanced settings and all the controls and settings there, we have on our help desk, on the DungeonFog help desk, we have an article that goes through all the settings and what you can do with that. So just check it out. I will just now run the import script, and you can see he's already done. So I can switch to that scene, and it is now available here. And when I go to the lighting, you will see that those are the light sources that are in the as native lights in the system. And if you go to the walls, you will see that it has created the doors, the walls, everything that we need. Now we're currently working on a few things that we would like to introduce as well, which is we are going to, by the end of April, we're going to start working on the GM nodes. So we want to make it that GM nodes become journal entries when you import a map. That is one thing that we want to do. And I know that we've been looking at tokens, but that is a rather complex topic. So that might still take some time, but eventually, hopefully, you will be able to bring tokens that you've placed on the DungeonFog map over to your token system here. Look at that on YouTube. The Midgard community is finding together. Hello everyone from Midgard. And that's it. That's all you need to do. That's all you want to do to get DungeonFog maps into Foundry. It's quite simple. It requires one add-on that you need to install. That's the Universal Battle Map Importer, and then you just export your maps, bring them over, and there you are, done and ready to go. All right. So that was a little excursus on how you get your maps from DungeonFog into Foundry. And once again, if you're looking for a virtual tabletop with dice rolling, character sheets, roll tables, I've spent an afternoon creating random loot tables for my party. And again, there are tons of amazing modules out there that you can use. And at the end, I had a perfect roll table for my party. So if you're looking for things like that, I can highly recommend Foundry. If you just want to run a map through a TV screen or a projector, or you're rolling dice physically, and your players are more in the pen and paper character sheet management, then you can use DungeonFog and the Fog of War viewers to run your games through DungeonFog directly, again with the benefit of being able to modify the map because it's still the map making tool with all its tool capabilities at your hand while your players are exploring it. Can I please have my mouse? That would be amazing. Right. Let's get rid of that, and let's bring back DungeonFog here. Shoop. No, I did it like that previously, and we don't need the download bar anymore. Okay, so that was it from my side. That was our quick X-course on, on how you use the campaign tools. We will see each other next time on Tuesday when it's another regular DungeonFog community stream where we talk about updates and new features and upcoming things, and I'm giving you just a review of the previous week. And next Thursday we will definitely do another map making session where we are drawing maps, especially since there is a new wait, I think there was a new, and I completely forgot to announce it. Let me just quickly check that. Finn, please, this is important. Yes, sir. I need my mouse. We had a new asset pack released today, but because of so many things going on, I completely forgot about that. And I think it is already. Let's do it like that. I think it's already available. Surprise announcements. My maps. Let me see. Werbung. The Celts. So there will be a proper announcement tomorrow. But you, as the dear ones who are watching the stream, yeah, let's reboot Till for a second. Back up. For those of you who are in the stream, you are the first ones to hear about that and know about that, whereas the rest of the world and the rest of the DungeonFog community will know about that tomorrow when I will be doing the announcement for the new asset pack that we have just released, and that is the Celts. It is part of our where is it? Come on. Lost Civilizations, and it is a new asset pack featuring a little scene, a little Celtic scene with an elder tree. So here you can see what it is featuring. Let me go to 80%, and let's get rid of all the stuff here. So you have those obelisks with runes, without runes, glowing. We have the elder tree in 2 states. We have it as a actively magical elder tree, or just as a dead tree with a little face on it. We have, thanks to the a Discord conversation that I overheard or overlooked while people were chatting on Discord, and someone was showing an amazing map about I think something like a tree interior, and he said, wish there was a dead druid. And I was like, oh wait, I'm just talking to Tony about the new asset pack. So now we have an amazing, come on here, where are you? I think that, there you are. So we have an, ooh, he's flying close to us now. We have an amazing dead druid here, which I think he's creepy. Or he could be sleeping. If you want to have a sleeping druid, that's fine as well. Then we have, okay, fall back to the ground, my friend. Now he's definitely dead. Then we have those let's call them menhir stones, where you can build your stone henges from it, in several combinations, again with the glowing runes, the non-glowing runes, and blank. And they are also combinable, so you could, where is it? Oh, let's take the full thing. Let's just shift it here for a second, and let's get rid of you. So you can see you can use them like that, and you can use them either as standing or as a combination. Well, and then I would say the classic druidic assets, like you have the mistletoes, you have some deer skulls, and ooh, that's nice. That's a nice presentation. You also have a dead deer head that I just sticked somewhere. Several different fireplaces. You have this cooking pot, and I think many of you will do a lot with that stuff, because that is like a fume flag wave cloud that you can place anywhere, and it creates this little still cooking, still fuming, still burning effect. So if I would place it over here above walls, it would look like the fire just extinguished. The tent actually is from another set, that is from our desert set, but you have those improved skin racks. So I think it's quite a nice set, and it has been released today, and it will be announced tomorrow. Right. So I think I don't see any new questions in the chat. So I say thank you, everyone. We are going to build a map, probably a different druidic map, in our next map stream next week. And let me just see if I can do some final announcements. I think there are some news from the Circle of World Builders place. The Circle of World Builders is our little community of World Anvil, how to be a great GM, Keora and DungeonFog, where we last year came together and created a masterclass on world building. And we're going to do the same thing this year. It's going to be in June, and we are about to release some infos about that very soon. So keep an eye out for that. But what we're trying to do is we're not only just collaborating on projects or on little events like that. We're trying to keep each other informed on what's going on in all our spheres. And so we've started a little news section where we're sharing news between each others. And from Keora's cartographer sphere, I can tell you that he has updated his Patreon tiers, so that you can now officially become a Patreon, where he is supporting Wonderdraft, Dungeon Draft, coming soon Foundry, and DungeonFog. In World Anvil, the Adventure April challenge is now live. It's a one-shot challenge where you can write a one-shot on World Anvil and share it with the world. So if you're interested in writing a little one-shot and share it, go to World Anvil and check that out. It's I think the news announcement you can find on the blog of World Anvil. And from how to be a great GM, I know that there are some very exciting things coming up. He hasn't officially announced them, I believe. So if you're not following the Great GM yet, I would highly recommend to go to his YouTube channel and subscribe, because he's putting out a lot of amazing stuff. And I know that he is starting some very cool new things soon, so keep an eye out for that. There you go. Guy, I haven't heard anything. I'm just teasing. Coming soon trademark. So I will shut up now. Yeah, and as always, if you want to know more about DungeonFog, especially Project Deus, the end of the month is getting closer, and so is our next Mapping It Out, which will be again on the last Tuesday of the month, which I have no idea when it is, but it must be somewhere around the 26th or the 27th. There we will talk about the progress on Project Deus. I know that there is going to be, by then, there will be a new update. And there's going to be a patch that will introduce some cool new features. So keep an eye out for that. And until then, I say to all of you, thank you very much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, happy map making. Bye.